Hello and welcome to the revision programme of Module 7 of That's English.
Hello. We've learnt a lot of things with our friends in Cafe 27, so now it's time to have a look at some of the most important ones.
Good idea. In Unit 1, we learnt how to refer to specific places.
We used the article the to talk about specific geographical locations, points on the globe, or ecosystems. For example, I live in the south of England, but I was born in the Midlands.
Let's watch some other examples from the programme.
We can work from anywhere, but Jade wants to live by the sea and I want to wake up near the mountains.
This is beautiful Cornwall, surrounded by the deep Atlantic Ocean.
Yes, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm going to be taking you on a tour of the southwest.
But we don't use the with the names of countries, lakes or mountains. Watch.
Jade, darling, it doesn't have to be Scotland, it could be Wales.
We also heard people comparing situations using the more, the more.
The more you watch these clips, the more you will remember what you've learnt.
The more we talk about this, the more difficult it gets to decide.
Although geologists admit that erosion in other places is generally very worrying, the more the Jurassic coast is eroded, the more fossils it reveals.
In Unit 2, we moved from talking about nature to talking about science.
That's right. And we learnt how to express purpose using so that, in order to, and for.
In the programme, I showed Annabelle my latest gadget. I use it for measuring my oxygen level.
Yes. Now let's watch some other examples from the episode.
Winners push themselves in order to improve their performance. Change your position so you don't damage that knee again.
Today the station's used for tracking and monitoring spacecraft, satellites in the sky.
We also saw people talking about general truths using an if sentence.
Here are some examples.
If you share a problem, you always feel better.
But Joe says that if nobody catches you, it doesn't matter.
Let's move on to Unit 3. In this episode, we met some senior citizens and discovered lots of things you can do after you retire.
I've got a few years before I retire. But when we talk about imaginary situations, we use the second conditional. Do you remember? We use if plus simple past in the first part of the sentence and would plus infinitive in the second part.
If I were retired, I would help other people. I'd help other people, like Paul does in the episode. What would you do if you were retired, Ashley?
If I were retired, I would be on holiday all the time. I'd be on holiday all the time. Let's watch some more examples.
If I ate cakes every day, Paul, I'd be the fattest woman in London.
If Paul didn't come in here every day, we'd go out of business.
We also heard people talking about things that didn't happen and can't be changed.
Yes, when we talk about impossible situations, we use if with the past perfect, then would have and the past participle. Remember, we say would've.
That sounds complicated.
Well, if you had paid attention in Unit 3, then this wouldn't have sounded complicated.
OK, well, let's watch some more examples.
If she hadn't left her computer on, I'd never have found out.
Retirement gives you the chance to do things which, if you'd had the time, you would have done when you were younger.
Is that a bit clearer for you now, Annabelle?
Yes, thanks, Ashley. But let's move on to Unit 4, Family Matters.
We learnt how to make promises. We can use will or won't and a verb.
But we can also use the verb promise.
Let's watch some examples.
I won't talk about myself anymore, I promise.
Promise me you won't spoil your mum's birthday.
I promise not to spoil Mum's birthday. I give you my word. I hope you won't spoil it.
Oh, I won't.
I promise to come back and present the next module of That's English with you, Annabelle.
I'll be there too, Ashley. In Unit 4, we also learnt how to add emphasis using do before the main verb.
Ah, yes. You do have a very good memory.
Well, I did spend some time preparing for today's programme. Let's watch some more examples.
Wow, you do look smart today.
Woo! Do be careful, won't you?
In that last example, we heard won't you at the end of the sentence.
Yes, we use will you or won't you to make requests.
Let's watch some more examples.
Grab a chair, will you?
Claude, listen to me, will you?
I'm just remembering when you were dressed as my maid in Unit 5.
Oh, gosh. Yes, we were learning about social class in Britain.
That's right. And we learnt how to make references using as regards and as for.
Yes, and as for Unit 5, you looked very handsome, Ashley. Let's watch some examples from the episode.
And as regards socialising with the upper classes, there were some perfectly normal people at the races.
As for money? Yes, it's important, but it isn't everything.
We also heard different ways to express cause.
For example, that's why, because of, the reason for, and since. Watch some examples.
But since we're on the subject of money and class again, let me tell you about my grandmother's life. You have money, and it's only because of your money that you can help these homeless people.
Fewer working class people are going to university because of the recently increased tuition fees.
Social class issues in Britain are a complicated subject. That's why I found the unit very interesting.
But I enjoyed Unit 6, which was all about films. We reviewed how to describe processes like making a film using the passive voice.
Let's watch some examples.
Sorry, too late. The main character has already been cast.
The cinema can also be hired out for private parties or for corporate events.
In this unit, we also learnt how to express result and consequence using so and an adjective or adverb and that.
Or such and an adjective plus noun and that. For example, the film was so interesting that I watched it several times.
Or it was such an interesting film that I watched it several times.
Let's watch some more examples from the programme.
If the film is successful, this will be such a famous cafe that everyone will want to come here.
It's only a few lines. We'll be finished so quickly that you won't even notice us.
Unit 7 was all about raising money for charity.
And we learned how to express wishes about the present using I wish or if only and the past simple.
I wish I could remember what charity Laura was raising money for.
She raised £300 for a refugee survival box.
Oh, yes. If only I had your good memory, Ashley. Let's watch some examples.
Wish people gave more to my charity. £300 is a fortune.
I just wish people spent more money in my cafe instead of giving it to charity.
In this episode, we also heard people expressing regret.
We use I wish or if only with the past perfect. If only I had run that marathon like Laura, I could have raised a fortune for charity.
Let's watch some more examples.
Now, Matt, I wish I'd asked you sooner, but I need a favour.
We let you use our cafe for your film, remember, for no money. I wish we hadn't done that now.
In Unit 8, the topic was crime. Do you remember?
Annabelle and I wore hoodies to show that not all young people in hoodies are criminals.
And we learnt how to describe people using look and seem. Well, you didn't look like a criminal in your hoodie, but you did look like a teenager.
And you, Annabelle, seemed very comfortable in your hoodie. Let's watch.
Yes, he seems like a nice person, a very nice person.
He looked very suspicious, and it was obvious that he was trying to shoplift.
In the programme, we also heard people giving extra information using non-defining relative clauses. For example, the young man who was wearing a hoodie left Cafe 27 without paying.
In these clips, which are from the episode, you'll see some more examples.
A friend of my mother's, Mrs. Rooney, who'd just bought a lottery ticket, put the change in her purse and left. But I saw his hand, which had a tattoo of a snake.
Ashley, have you improved your thought communication technique? In Unit 9, you told us that in the future we will be communicating using just our brains. Don't you remember?
Oh, yes. It was all about science fiction. There were a lot of predictions about the future in that episode.
And to make predictions, we use will and won't. Watch.
I don't think my editor will like that.
Sci-fi ideas that we find impossible today will be reality tomorrow.
When we talk about the future, we can also refer to actions that are complete.
For this, we use will have and the past participle. Watch.
By the time I'm 50, they'll have already built space elevators on Earth. And by the end of the century, they'll have built them on the Moon and Mars too.
Sure. I'll have already finished the animations by the weekend.
And we also learned to talk about actions in progress in the future.
We use will be plus a verb in the ing form. For example, half an hour after this programme ends, I will be sitting in the pub.
I think I'll join you. Watch these other examples.
I've read in the papers that by the end of the century, people won't be talking to each other anymore.
People will be living much longer thanks to genetic engineering. And a robot will be doing all the housework for us.
Do you know who's really good at predicting the future, Annabelle?
Who?
Psychics and tarot readers.
Oh, yes. We learned about that in Unit 10, which was about superstitions and fears. To talk about habitual behaviour in the present, we use will always.
And to talk about habitual behaviour in the past, we use would. Watch.
When I do the lottery, I'll always choose some sevens, because seven's my lucky number.
Okay, I admit that sometimes I'm superstitious. When I was younger, I'd always touch wood to keep bad luck away.
We also heard people talking about continuing actions using go on plus a verb in the ing form. For example, Ashley and I will go on teaching you English after Module 7. Watch.
Finally, I went on reading my book, but the strange thing was, I felt a little scared.
Therapists go on improving their techniques. So there's now much more hope for a phobia sufferer to be cured.
We can also repeat the verb to show continuing actions. For example, I laugh and laugh when I remember the good times we've had in all these programmes, Ashley. Watch these other examples.
Afterwards, I didn't think anything more about it until later that evening when Jessica suddenly screamed and screamed and screamed.
Jessica! Jessica!
I was really miserable. I cried and cried for weeks.
It's good that we ended the programme talking about continuing actions, because although it's the end of the module, we'll be back soon in Module 8.
We hope you enjoyed learning English with us in Module 7. We certainly enjoyed being here with you. So until next time in That's English, goodbye.
Yes, goodbye. See you.